the news coming at Santiago Vescovi could be sick. Man, just kind of get your thoughts on that, and seems kind of weird. He could have a tummy ache, not be playing, and everybody's calling for him to be benched. I mean, odd, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't think it's a giant deal. And look, Rick Barnes he's not Steve Spurrier, but he doesn't really lie to you in the press conferences in the sense of he will somewhat call a player out if he says I'm benching him or something like that, he probably would say it. So I don't.
Would he?
I don't think he would lie and say Santiago Vescovi was sick and dealing with a tummy illness.
Maybe he had a tummy illness, but I mean,
Rick Barnes said he's expected to play in the game. So Rick Barnes doesn't lie like that. He's not Josh Heupel. Now, again, he's not Steve Spurrier, who just would have come out and said Santiago Vescovi's not playing well. We're benching him, wouldn't he?
Thank you, Robert. He said something's up with the Vescovi. I'm sorry. The timing of this is just too significant. I mean, yes, will he play? But is he benched? Is this the way that I could very easily see Rick Barnes, and you guys tell me if I'm crazy, and I'll trust you on the message board.
Crazy Uncle Dave. Here we go.
Crazy Uncle Dave. I could easily see Rick Barnes going to Vescovi and saying, I think it's better if you come off the bench, but take the day off, think about it, and we'll see you at the game on Friday. Yes, I could see that happening.
Okay, but that's not a big deal if he moves Vescovi to the bench and has him come off the bench then.
That's a huge deal. You just benched what most people would argue is your best player heading into the season the day before the second round of the tournament. If they benched him, it's a monster move.
Well, if he did, I would actually give Rick Barnes credit because one of the old school things Rick Barnes does that bothers me, because it doesn't matter in college basketball. It does in the NBA, but it doesn't in college. Starters could be just a title. Should be,
yes, it's who plays in the fourth quarter. If Rick Barnes gave him that stuff from Dumb and Dumber that gives you an upset stomach, I don't care what it is. Whatever he had to do, I don't care how you handle it publicly. But yeah, if you gave him a super diuretic and suddenly he can't play in the game or has to come off the bench because you time it out just right, then I'm okay with you doing something like that.
No, I think this could be Rick
Is that
Barnes.
Player poisoning? Because we haven't gone that far, so I might want to walk that back just a little bit.
I mean, Michael Jordan believes to this day he got food poisoning from the Utah game. So
Blake, it's a must win. Yes, Smoky Mountain Red. It's a motivation tactic. If you don't play well in the next game, you might just get a case.
But this is not what Rick Barnes does. You're telling me Rick Barnes is going to do a departure from everything he's ever done coaching in the middle of the NCAA tournament?
I'm telling you, something's up with the Vescovi thing, man. Okay, that doesn't just drop.
But if it does, that's guys, Rick Barnes, you're telling me he's going to throw away a philosophy he has had for 40 years of coaching, which Rick Barnes' philosophy is starters are the best players because you earn playing time. So all of his he's old school like that. He's not new school, where new school is doesn't really matter if you start or bench. It's who's on the court in the last 10 minutes, 5 minutes of a game. Rick Barnes' starters get the playing time. They play the most minutes.
Okay.
And
I'm going to answer.
You're telling me he's going to change that philosophy?
You're asking me a question. I'm going to answer it. If everybody will take 1 second, hit like. Just hit like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that. Like and subscribe. Yes, he's totally changed his philosophy. You pointed out in ball calls, he said, it drives me insano that I can't make the Final Four. I'm physically ill. I can't sleep at night. It makes me want to kick my dog. I think he said all that stuff, but I don't have the exact quote. Yes, he's doing everything to change stuff. He changed his offense because of Dalton Connect. He let Dalton Connect take over the game against Auburn, which is so outside of what he would normally think. He's exactly doing everything he can because he knows he turns 70 this summer. This is it.
But, okay, I get changing his philosophy at the beginning of the year and in the middle of the season on things. He never changed his philosophy over how he handles his rotation. You're telling me he changed his rotational philosophy? That he decided to change that in the middle of the NCAA tournament?
Yes. And Robert, Vescovi might have a prima donna attitude. Yes, he might. No, and if he does, you don't know that just because he plays hard.
he had to shoulder a less of a scoring role this year, and while it did throw him off his rhythm scoring, it has not changed how hard and effective he's played on defense. He doesn't have a prima donna attitude. You guys are being ridiculous, okay?
Wait, how do you know that? I didn't know that Jabari Small was very unhappy with the way the season was playing, and that's part of the reason you didn't see him more. I'll go ahead and report that right now, that he was unhappy with the season last year. We didn't know that until the season played out. It wouldn't stun me if 6 months from now it comes out that Vescovi thought he was mishandled or says something in an Italian newspaper about how his time at Tennessee could have been much better, but decisions were made that didn't in line with the best future that he could possibly have. That's all possible. I don't understand why you don't think that's possible.
Okay, first of all, he's from Uruguay, not Italy.
No. I mean, he could play in the Italian league.
Italian league. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I just picked a random country.
Right, but I didn't think that was prima donna by Jabari Small. He was just upset that he played less because he played hard a lot, and he didn't like that he played less. But I don't think Vescovi's not the type of player that would do this. He made some sacrifices that he was willing to make because Dalton Connect was there. I do think that. I can't imagine Rick Barnes changing everything he believes. I've seen him change a lot of what he believes. I can't imagine him changing something like that. What you're saying is this. What you're saying is this. You're saying Rick Barnes is doing the George Costanza from Seinfeld episode where George is like, every instinct I have is wrong, so I'm doing the opposite of my instincts. You're saying Rick Barnes is doing that.
What I'm telling you, I'm going to pay players, but I'm going to let somebody else handle it, even though morally I think it's wrong. That's what they're doing it. They've got somebody on the staff that handles that, I was told, because he hates the NIL thing. And he's adapted to the point where he would take that guy. He's adapted everything. So why wouldn't he adapt? I mean, what's the alternative? Historically, the alternative, if he doesn't shake up something right before a key game in the tournament, and I think that's what's happening with Vescovi's hurt tummy. I think if he doesn't, historically, you're just going to lose anyway. I mean, the odds are Vegas would tell you, everybody would tell you.
I am having a real hard time with this one, but I mean, okay. I can't imagine he's doing that.
Let me ask you, you said that you don't believe Rick Barnes would just openly lie to the media, right? And I think
I don't think he would.
Okay. What is the one situation that he would do that? Protect his own player.
But he doesn't protect his own players.
Okay, wait a second. But just like Josh Heupel, who didn't come out and say, Jeremy Banks is the one that caused that whole fiasco in Columbia, South Carolina. He's not going to come out and say, we're benching Santiago Vescovi. He's going to come off the bench. He doesn't feel good about it, so he skipped practice. He's not going to throw him under the bus. So this plays out. The one time where he could fib publicly would be to protect his own guys. That falls in line with his character.
No, it doesn't. Rick Barnes has a history. Rick Barnes' problem is he calls his players out too much sometimes in press conferences.
I agree, but at least in this case, he's tried to right that wrong.
I don't think he would protect Vescovi on this. I don't. If anything, what Rick Barnes would say is, we feel it'd be best for Vescovi's rhythm and it'd be best for our scoring off the bench because we're lacking in scoring off the bench to move Vescovi to the bench so we can get some help on that rotation. That would be a way he could say he's moving Vescovi to the bench, be honest, but be PC about it. But that's how Rick Barnes would do it. He wouldn't make up Vescovi being ill and then say
be PC about.
Like I'm saying, Rick Barnes is not going to lie to protect his players. He's not going to do that. He first of all, I told you guys, Rick Barnes is very altruistic. He is as deeply Christian as they get. He firmly believes in "Thou shalt not give false testimony" part of the Bible. Like that is very part. He firmly lives by that.
He didn't even fib. He said he's got an upset tummy. He'll be at the game. Did he say he'll start?
He said he's sick.
Okay. Did he say he'll start?
No, he did say he'll start.
Okay, just do me a favor. Pull up the exact quote because I want to read it. And the show represented by Banks and Jones. Banks and Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. All right, Caleb, what was the exact quote?
He says, quote, "He's just under the weather a little bit, but we expect him to be ready."
That's honest and can be the exact same thing that I said.
Or it could, if he's under the weather, why would that?
Under the weather could be a mental fatigue from I've gone through the season and now you're benching me and why are you doing this to me? And it hurts deeply. Rick, please don't bench me. No, you're going to the bench.
Okay.
I played that whole thing out.
That's a fair way to read into that. You got me a little bit there. That's a fair way to read into it, because under the weather can mean a lot of different things. But yeah, Rick Barnes will never lie to protect his players. He doesn't believe in that. I can just tell you that right now.
No, he does.
If he wasn't a coach, he'd be a missionary.
Yeah, he does. He does throw guys under the bus a little bit, but fairly in press conferences. Now, okay, if he did, let me ask you guys this. If he did just bench Vescovi, do you like Tennessee's chances better against Creighton?
I mean, I would, because I actually think what they could do is kind of, I can't do this in the middle of the tournament, but when you bring Vescovi in, you could do it when Dalton's on the bench, and you could reroute the offense and run the offense you ran last year, where you had more flex offense and screens around the perimeter, and give Vescovi open looks. I think that'd be a great move. Have Vescovi in when Dalton's not in, and you change the offense based on which one of them is in.
Okay. So how would you divvy up the minutes if they were to do that?
I mean,
say you got how many? 20? You've got 16 to 18 extra minutes if he's playing. Let's look at it both ways. He's playing 6-man, 1, or 2. He says, "Forget the Vols. I'm out of here because you just benched me in the middle of the NCAA tournament."
35. I'd have Vescovi play 20 and Dalton play 35, which would obviously have a certain level of crossover of at least like 15 minutes where they're on the court together. But, that's fine. Maybe Dalton goes 30 minutes and Vescovi goes. No, this game's different. The way Creighton plays, I would have Vescovi. I'd have Dalton play like 38 minutes. This is the type of game where you need Dalton to play a ton.
Okay. So I've changed our poll question, and it's up there. As an SEC fan, I get more excited about blank a Sweet 16 game, a 4-star commitment. 79% say Sweet 16 game. 4-star commitment gets 20% of the vote. And I've changed it, though, and I'm excited about this. So the Vols are blank without Santiago Vescovi on the team. The Vols are that's terrible. Absolutely way to phrase that question. Is Tennessee better without Vescovi? Let me ask that question. How about that?
You're just going to mentally wreck him for tonight's game. He's going to see this poll question, Dave, and he's going to cry.
He's not watching.
Okay. All right. They're not better without Vescovi.
Whoa. Why are you I thought you would have been on board with me.
They're not better without Vescovi. No, they're better with Vescovi. On
the bench or as a starter?
Oh, I thought you just meant in general. No, okay, they're better with him on the bench. Okay, I agree with you on that, because then it would allow more flexibility with what they're doing.
Okay, well, I'm going to put it out there. Yes, as a starter. No, yes, as a bench player. But I want you to convince me how he should continue to be a starter when we've seen what we've seen.
Because of what he does defensively. He's so good and effective defensively. That's why he should be a starter.